guys, Dr. Robert Barrington here with some more nutrition advice. I wanted to talk today about berry teas. A lot of people ask me whether berry tea is a good way of increasing the amount of antioxidants they have in their diet. And I think there's two reasons why somebody would want to drink berry tea. The most common reason is because some people don't want to drink caffeine. They're aware that tea is a very good way of increasing their antioxidant intake, and antioxidants have this protective effect against disease. So drinking tea is a very good way of achieving that, but the caffeine in tea is detrimental to some people. It can cause anxiety, and some people don't like the effects that you get from caffeine, and therefore there's an increasing amount of people that are becoming aware that it's personally I don't think there's anything wrong with drinking tea if you're not susceptible to the caffeine, but it's becoming apparent that some people are sensitive to caffeine, and therefore they don't want to drink tea or coffee, but they want to get the benefits of the high amounts of antioxidants that tea can provide. So berry tea is a good alternative for those types of people. And there's another group of people that are just interested in increasing the amount of antioxidants they have in their diet. Maybe they drink tea anyway, but they just want another method that they can something else that they can drink that's reasonably healthy, that's not going to cause any detrimental health problems, like maybe fruit juice or soft drinks. They want something else to drink so they don't have to drink traditional tea all the time. So they look at fruit or berry teas. And therefore, a lot of people are interested in, the health effects of berry teas. Do they provide reasonable levels of antioxidants? What are the health effects? So I'm just going to do a quick video, a quick overview. I'm going to hit high points to try and give you an overview of, the benefits of drinking berry tea. First of all, some definitions. Traditional tea is really tea made from the Camellia sinensis plant. That is the tea plant. There are two ways really of manufacturing tea from that plant. You can oxidize the tea leaves, and that produces a black tea, or you can steam the leaves, and that prevents the oxidation of the leaves, and that produces green tea. Now, black and green tea have very different antioxidant profiles. There is a little bit of a misnomer. Some people assume that green tea is a healthier form of tea, but there have been a lot of studies that have looked at the antioxidant content of black and green tea. It's very difficult to actually compare black and green tea because often the researchers have to compare two different types of tea. It's very difficult to actually take tea leaves, manufacture from those tea leaves both green and black tea, and then compare the same leaves passed through two manufacturing processes. Often the researchers have to go and buy some black tea, go and buy some green tea. Those leaves have obviously come from different plants, they've been from different regions, so it's not always a fair comparison. But from the nutritional information and the data I've looked at, black tea really is comparable to green tea in terms of the amount of antioxidants it has. It's a little bit controversial because it depends what antioxidants you're looking at, but generally black tea has very high amounts of antioxidants, and green tea gets all the plaudits for being a very healthy drink, but really both black and green tea contain very high amounts of antioxidants for foods, but they just contain different antioxidants. Green tea generally contains high amounts of the flavonthiols, which are a subgroup of flavonoids. They're sometimes called the catechins, so catechin and epicatechin are an example of that. Black tea, because it's been oxidized, actually contains oxidized versions of these flavonthiols, but they all still retain their antioxidant capacity. They're just in a different form. If you drink something like Darjeeling tea, which is partially oxidized, you get both the catechins and their oxidized derivatives. You get a mixture of black and green tea. So there are a range of traditional teas, and how they're actually manufactured really depends on what antioxidants remain in the leaves when you purchase the tea. but generally black and green tea are quite similar in their antioxidant total antioxidant capacity. They just have very different antioxidant profiles. And this is interesting because berry tea also has high amounts of total antioxidant capacity, but it has very different antioxidants present. Now, berry tea is really a tea that is made from most of it is made from berries, so you can buy wild berry tea. But there are fruit teas as well, and the fruit teas have been analysed as well, and they do have very similar profiles to some of the berry teas. But really, I'm talking about the teas that are made specifically from berries, but you could group in some of the the teas that are made from other other plant components as well, including in flowers. They all seem to have high amounts of flavonoids in, but the berry teas have high amounts of anthocyanins in there when you in the water after you've boiled them, and this relates to the fact that berries have high amounts of anthocyanins in them, and therefore you'd expect the tea to reflect that, and that's exactly what you find. So high amounts of anthocyanins, which are another subgroup of flavonoids, and you also get high amounts of vitamin C. So how does the antioxidant capacity compare between berry teas and traditional teas? We know that traditional tea has high amounts of antioxidants, both black and green tea. If you compare that to berry teas, how many antioxidants that you're actually getting? Well, it depends on the study, and it depends on who's done the measurements and how the measurements have been done. There are a number of different ways of measuring antioxidant capacity. One of the common ones that's used is the ORAC measurement, but there are others, and they do give different values, so it does depend on the research that you're looking at. But generally, berry teas fare actually very well against traditional tea in terms of their total antioxidant capacity. Certainly, data that I've seen has berry tea, almost the same amount of total antioxidants compared to green tea, and like I say, in some studies black tea has even higher amounts of antioxidants. But generally, green tea, black tea, and berry tea are regarded as some of the, as per dry weight, they provide some of the highest amounts of antioxidants for any plant foods. They certainly fare very well in comparison to fruits and vegetables, even after they've been put into boiling water and the antioxidants solubilized in the water. The antioxidants from traditional teas and berry teas do get into the water. That's been analysed. Now, in terms of how long you should brew them for, generally this has been done more with traditional teas, but about 85% of the total antioxidant capacity of the tea is transferred to about, if you put in 150 mils of boiling water, which is a smallish cup of a teacup of water, in 5 minutes 85% of the total antioxidant capacity is solubilized into the water. If you then took the tea bag out and put it in another 150 ml of boiling water, another 13% is then solubilized. So you get most of the antioxidants out of tea in the first 5 minutes of brewing. And not surprisingly, studies have looked at the way that you, if you agitate the water, that rate of transfer into the water is much faster. So if you stir the tea bag in the water, which is how most people make tea, you get a higher transfer of the antioxidants into the water. And there's no reason to suppose that that's different for berry tea. We know that the anthocyanins are solubilized into the water. We know that the vitamin C from the berry tea passes into the water. So in terms of actually getting the antioxidants into the tea, both traditional tea and berry tea is effective. Are the antioxidants absorbed into human tissues? Yes, they are. Anthocyanins and vitamin C are both highly bioavailable to humans, and the antioxidants that you find in traditional teas are also very bioavailable. So they get into the tissues, they get into the cells, and there they likely have antioxidant effects. And how do they actually have an effect in the tissues? Well, really the antioxidants in berry and traditional teas interact with the antioxidants we already have in our cells, They're water soluble. They become even more water soluble when they are absorbed, because they often go through phase 2 metabolism, which is a process in the enterocytes and the liver before they get into the blood, where they have different chemical groups added to them, for example methyl groups or glucuronide groups, and these groups are added to the compounds, and they become water soluble, and then they're able to be put into the blood. And because they're water soluble, they will get into the tissues and surrounding tissues, and there they will very likely interact with vitamin C. They'll very likely interact with vitamin E and some of the antioxidants in the cells. And they do seem to, certainly from animal studies, from cell culture studies, and from human studies that have measured antioxidant capacity in the blood, they do seem to provide a reasonable increase in antioxidant capacity. So if you don't like caffeine, if you find you're sensitive to it, but you want to get the benefits of tea, berry teas and fruit teas are actually a very good way of getting antioxidants. They do provide bioavailable antioxidants, mostly in the form of anthocyanins, as you would expect from berries, but also high amounts of vitamin C. But if you already drink tea, combining the two is a very good strategy, and I'll explain why that is so. If you're drinking traditional tea, you're going to be getting your polyphenolic substances, your phenolic substances from your tea, either in the form, if it's black tea, of theaflavins or thearubins. If it's green tea, they're going to be mainly catechins, such as catechin or epicatechin. If you're drinking berry tea, you're going to be getting your polyphenolic antioxidants as anthocyanins with vitamin C. Combining the two is a very good strategy because it increases the range of the antioxidants that you have in your tissues. And evidence suggests that it's not really the total amount of antioxidants that you have, although that does have implications. It's really the range of antioxidants you have. Very high amounts of single antioxidants could have possibly pro-oxidant effects. They may actually be detrimental. Taking a single type of antioxidant, such as vitamin E, in very high amounts without other antioxidants may actually have detrimental effects in tissues, and this has been demonstrated in the scientific literature. However, if you have a range of antioxidants, but in smaller amounts, that appears to have a beneficial effect. These antioxidants work synergistically. They interact such that when one antioxidant quenches a free radical, it becomes a radical itself, and it needs other antioxidants to be able to recycle it back to being an antioxidant. And that's how these antioxidants work in the tissues. So having lower levels of more antioxidants is actually more beneficial than having very high levels of a single antioxidant. So combining traditional tea with berry teas, if you drink both, is probably a better strategy in terms of your antioxidant capacity of your plasma, of your tissues, of your cells, than it would be than just drinking tea. And if we actually look at tea, tea contains many different antioxidants. It's got, most of them are polyphenolic, they're phenolics. So if we look at tea, black tea contains gallic acid, it contains chlorogenic acid, it contains some of the catechins, small amounts of the catechins, it contains theaflavin, it contains thearubigin, it contains camphorol, it contains quercetin, there's myricetin in there, luteolin is in there as well. So it contains a range of different flavonoids, of polyphenolic antioxidants, and this is probably why tea is such a good and healthy drink. Lots of studies have looked at tea, and tea confers protection against a lot of diseases. including cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, dementia. They've all been evidenced in the literature, and it may be because of the range of antioxidants contained within tea. If you mix traditional tea with berry teas, you're adding 2 extra antioxidants there that you don't have in high amounts in the traditional tea, and therefore you're likely to do, it's likely to be more beneficial drinking both types of tea than a single type of tea. So if you don't like caffeine and you want an alternative, berry tea is a very good alternative. There are high amounts of antioxidants, high amounts of anthocyanins, and there is vitamin C in there as well. The same for fruit teas. These have been measured and they do contain reasonable amounts of antioxidants, and the antioxidants will depend on which type of berry is used, or which type of flower component is used. But these fruit teas and these berry teas, some of them contain lemon, for example. They put bits of citrus in. Others contain flower components. It depends really on the tea. And that you can get all different types of fruit tea, all different types of berry tea. They all seem to contain the types of antioxidants you would expect in those components. And therefore, yes, they do provide a reasonable level of antioxidants. If you're drinking traditional tea, and that's one of your main ways of getting your antioxidants, and it is a very good way of getting antioxidants into your tissues, I would consider also drinking berry teas as well. They're very useful late at night if you don't want the caffeine late at night. They're very useful if you want to drink something else, if you don't want to drink tea all the time, but you don't want to turn to soft drinks or fruit juices. You want to drink something that's reasonably healthy, high amounts of antioxidants, but you want to break from traditional tea. The berry teas are very good, and they do contain high amounts of antioxidants. So I hope that was interesting and useful. Yes, berry teas are very useful. I would recommend you trying them. Some of them are nicer than others, but you've got to experiment. As always, eat well, stay healthy, and protect yourself. And I will see you soon for another video. Take care.